Hey guys, it's Thoughtslot here with another anime what if video, and today we are going to be doing the fifth part of what if Deku was the Avatar. So in the last part, after having their quirks and physical abilities tested by Aizawa, Class 1A is taken to the urban training zone by All Might for a team exercise. All Might creates teams of two that will either have to play a villain role, guarding a bomb in a building, or a hero role, attempting to capture the bomb or both of the villains, using a special capture role. So the teams remain identical to in the original timeline, as well as the matchups. All of the matchups go the same, besides the match with Deku's team and Bakugou's team. So through the matchups, as Deku's team comes up, Deku goes up to Bakugou and says, "May the best man win," to which Bakugou lets out a little puff of air and walks away saying, "You'll know that's me." This puts a smile on Deku's face as he knows he's going to get a good fight out of his rival, and he can't wait to start. The match starts between Deku's team and Bakugou's team, and Deku starts off quite strong. He decides that the best course of action would be to create a circular platform under him and Uraraka right next to the wall, and use it to ride up the wall, almost like a little bit of an elevator, opening up and closing holes in the ceilings and floors, just to, allow him passage. And using his earthbending, he can do this and get to the top very quickly, given the building's made out of stone. So Uraraka watches and is mesmerized by how fluid the motion of the rock that's carrying them up is, and both of them are fairly preoccupied with Deku controlling the elevator and Uraraka just kind of watching Deku. And as they're halfway up the building, they hear a scream of, "I've got you now. Nowhere to run now," as a massive explosion hits them from the side, pausing their ascent and knocking them both backwards into the wall, hard. Now, one thing I haven't addressed yet is Deku's hero costume, and since he's had a quirk for a while and knows what his bending's capable of, I think Deku would actually design his costume, kind of aid with his different styles of bending. So the result of all of these modifications actually leads to him having this kind of jumpsuit, and it has these extended pieces of fabric. If any of you guys have watched Avatar: The Legend of Korra, you'll recognize it from the airbending kind of task force that was there. And so this costume is designed to aid with his different styles of bending, and that's the modification that aids with his airbending. To aid with his firebending, the suit is actually fire retardant. It doesn't set on fire, it's heat resistant. And to aid with his earthbending, the soles of the shoes on the costume are actually really thin. Now, he doesn't know how to do this seismic sense technique that was developed by Toph yet, but he does know of it, since he was taught quite a lot by Avatar Aang inside of his mind. So he does know that he might end up learning that eventually. He doesn't know it yet, but it's best to have your costume kind of ready for that. So he decided to put the soles quite thin. And for waterbending, the costume actually absorbs his sweat as water, and so he can use it as, a weapon and stuff. Okay. So, using his costume, in the nick of time, just as Bakugou's about to let out his second explosion charged in his other gauntlet, Deku sweeps his arm across his body and down to the ground in diagonal motion, creating a massive gust of wind through the corridor that halts the explosion almost as if it was frozen in midair, before it dissipates in a small cloud of smoke and pushes an increasingly more annoyed Bakugou back, his feet skidding across the floor, as he knows that his element of surprise is now gone, and he's rather ticked off by that. So as Bakugou's regaining his composure, Deku high-fives Uraraka, making him weightless, and leaps toward Bakugou at full speed, pushing himself off with a platform of earth, shooting fireballs whilst gliding over the air like a skateboard, since he's floating due to Uraraka's quirk. Just as the flames reach Bakugou, he shoots out an explosion, recoiling himself backwards from the force and stopping Deku in his tracks, pushing him backwards and sending him rolling on the floor before he flips himself back up just before hitting the wall again. Bakugou growls before running forwards and using an explosion to jump towards Deku at high speed, throwing his signature right hook, a move Deku had actually anticipated. Deku's leg stretches forward as his other leg squats down and he kicks his outstretched leg up in front of Bakugou's chin, a pillar of stone smacking him square in the jaw and sending him flying up in the air and stopping him from actually going closer towards Deku. Deku spins air in his palm and releases as Bakugou is falling, looking at his opponent who's in shock. and the young Avatar yells, "Cyclone Bullet," and lunges forwards to release the attack into Bakugou's stomach almost at point blank range. This sends him spinning backwards and smashing into the wall on the other end of the corridor, knocking him unconscious. Now, during this whole ordeal, Uraraka has made her way up to the top room to hide and wait for Deku. After tying up Bakugou with the capture rope provided, Deku heads to his makeshift elevator and continues his way up to the top. Now, Ida tries his best villain laugh and says, "Ha ha ha, you may have defeated Bakugou, but you'll never beat me." And he rushes towards Deku with a kick. Deku narrowly jumps over the kick and vaults using Ida's head as a kind of propelling surface, and he cleanly jumps over. Now, Ida still continues with the kick, as this was fairly quick, and he smashes the pillar behind Deku, leaving Deku kind of shocked as he forgot just how powerful Ida's quirk was. Now, Ida looks towards Deku, and he takes a running jump and goes for another kick to Deku's side, and this time he makes contact, smacking Deku in the kidney and leaving him winded and quite in pain, and he sends him flying away from the bomb towards the corner of the room. Deku looks in pain, and Ida looks quite determined, knowing that he has a good chance at winning if he can actually just incapacitate Deku. He's surprised when Deku, midway through the air, shows a thumbs up, and Uraraka just jumps out of hiding to capture the bomb, securing the victory for Deku's team. Now, that is the match concluded with the bomb being captured. Now, that was, in my opinion, quite a nice fight, but Bakugou doesn't really take to the fact that he got knocked out quite kindly, and he's a little bit annoyed. He's alright with the fact that Ida didn't manage to succeed, given that he did try and he didn't know that Uraraka had actually gotten up. So he wasn't as mad as he was inside the original timeline, since in this one he knows Deku has a quirk and he knows that it's a powerful one, but he still is a little bit annoyed that he got beat by his rival, as expected. So all the other matches continue as expected. They continue just the same as the original timeline, and All Might's really impressed with the class in general, especially with Bakugou, with Deku, with Ida in this timeline quite a bit as well, due to his quite smart move kicking Deku away from the bomb. And he's impressed with Todoroki and Momo as well. So he's generally quite impressed with the performance of the class, but he's managed to, kind of single out some very promising individuals. So he's very impressed by this. Now, the next exercise that they're going to take after this, before All Might actually calls over Deku and asks him, young man, where did you get so many quirks? How is it that you have 4 quirks? And Deku tries to explain that it's actually just one quirk where he can control 4 elements, and he explains that it's been passed on through time as the Avatar. Now, All Might's quite intrigued by this, because this actually reminds him of One for All. It's very reminiscent of the way that, it gains power as it passes through the generations. And All Might's very impressed. All Might's very impressed by this, and he knows that even though, he's managed to just about beat Bakugou inside of this fight, he's also extremely, proud that he's got another member of his class who's got a very powerful quirk, and one that's reminiscent of One for All. And it seems to be very powerful, having beat Bakugou at 10% One for All full cowling, even though he hasn't, used a punch or kick with One for All yet inside of that, form. He did use his One for All powered explosions, which, and he did do jump with One for All, and managing to keep up with that is quite a feat. So All Might's very impressed by this, and actually says that he wants to have a talk with Deku in more depth about his quirk at a later date, and sends it back to the rest of the class. Now, the next exercise that they're going to do is actually at the USJ training center. So again, they change into their sports uniforms and they start to head towards the USJ training facility. So that's actually where I'm going to leave it off for this episode. I have to say that was quite an action-packed one, with pretty much the whole episode just being a fight. But we didn't really progress the story that much. But I'd say I hope you guys enjoyed it, because the rest of them have been quite kind of story driven with story elements, but this one's pretty much just been a fight scene. So let me know if you guys enjoyed it, or if I should do more kind of in-depth fight scenes, or should I kind of stick to more story-based episodes? So, it's up to you guys. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Alright, remember, if you guys liked it, leave a like, subscribe, comment with any suggestions for other what ifs, or if you have any kind of issues, or if you have any suggestions as to what Deku could do, or what I could have done differently, or what he can do differently inside of the arcs. I'd really appreciate that. I'm really open to all these ideas and stuff. It's always nice to hear. So yeah, pretty much that. I'll see you guys around in the next episode. Alright, bye guys.